Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Pasadhya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundara Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Nice. Okay, Amit, what we looking at tonight?
Sorry, probably I was on mute. I was talking to myself. 12.8.
12.8. We didn't just have that? 12.8.
Oh, I'm not sure. When was that?
Maybe Saturday.
No, really? I wasn't there Saturday.
Yes, 12.8 we had on Saturday. Here we go.
Oh, really? And I get that's so coincidental.
That's nice.
That is so coincidental. How did that happen? Yeah, I wasn't there on Saturday, but yes,
Yes,
You did 12:8 on Saturday.
Yes.
Oh, that is funny.
So what are we doing?
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, let me see.
Maybe 12:9. Yes, let's do 12:9. This is I'll repeat the 12:8, just the translation, because that is a whole sequence of verses, a beautiful sequence. Okay, let's share that screen.
I'm just going to try to log on my laptop as well, probably, because I can see it better.
Yes.
Just on my phone at the minute.
I think always come with your laptop, probably. It's a good idea. Okay, 12:8. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we just read the translation of 12:8 because it's so very beautiful, and that gives us a connection. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt. Let's see what is a connection to the previous verse. Previous verse, Lord Krishna was speaking, but those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, being devoted to me, without deviation, engage in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And then Krishna says, fix your mind upon me. And let's look at the next verse. Which is 12:9. Ami, do you want to read that? Sanskrit?
Yes, Prabhu, I will read it. Atta chittam samat atum. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes.
Na saknosi mai sittaram.
Not sitaram.
Abhyasa
Tiram.
yogena
Tiram.
stiram. Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading from my phone.
Next.
Abhyasa yogena mam icham tum danyana jaya.
Yeah. Read that again. The last word.
Nan jaya.
Yes, that's Arjuna. You should know that. Dhananjaya. He is called Dhananjaya many times.
Dhananjaya.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
What about the translation?
Okay, Prabhu. 1 minute. Okay, I'm just logging on via my laptop as well. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, If you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. This way develop a desire to attain me.
You see here, Krishna, he is, it's a beautiful sequence of verses and very, very helpful to everyone and very appropriate. Krishna says, fix your mind upon me. If you cannot do this, then do that. So one level down. If you still cannot do that, then another level down, then do at least that. And if you cannot do that, then do that. And so he is lowering the bar. It's not, Krishna is not saying, if you cannot do it, forget about it. That's it, that's the end of it. No, he's lowering the bar that basically everyone can link with him in some ways. And at the end, the lowest bar is, if you cannot do all of this, then just do some good work, do some charitable work. And that will also help you. And eventually, by some pious activities, you will come to a higher platform and then to a higher and higher until you come to the platform where Krishna started, fix your mind upon me. So here Krishna is saying, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, what does that mean? Deviation, that the mind is fluctuating. We're fixing the mind on Krishna and then we deviate and then the mind is somewhere else. And then, of course, we bring back the mind on Krishna. The chanting helps us tremendously. And if the mind is just deviating, then we chant a bit louder, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And immediately the mind will be drawn back. So it's not that easy to fix a mind on anything without deviation. Likewise, to fix a mind on Krishna without deviation, that is not that easy. So Krishna says, if you cannot do that, then just follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. Regulative principles, of course, we're meaning the four regulations: no meat, no fish, no eggs, no intoxication, no illicit sexual activities, and no gambling. That is the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. There are more, not only this. In this way, if you cannot fix your mind upon me, Krishna says, by following the principles of Bhakti Yoga, the regulations, you will develop a desire to attain me. Because at the beginning, people don't even have a desire to become Krishna conscious. That's a problem. Or not a strong desire, very weak desire. So let's read that purport, Amit. Cannot hear you, Amit. Are you there?
This verse,
come closer, come closer.
In this verse,
Yep.
two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by transcendental love.
Okay, let's stop here a second. Here, Srila Prabhupada is describing, and we have spoken about that on various occasions. There are two processes of Bhakti Yoga. One is called sadhana bhakti. By following the regulative principles, we climbing up the bhakti ladder, so to speak. And the other one is by attachment for Krishna, spontaneous attachment, which is the raga bhakti marg, or marg means path. So these two. Okay, carry on. And the other.
And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna.
So here It's quite simple. In India, previously, and to some degree today, boy and girl gets married at a very young age. Even at the age of 14, the girl. So, of course, they don't live together. They're living at their respective parents' homes. But still they're married. And the girl knows she has a husband. And the boy knows he has a wife. So on occasions, the boy comes with his family and they're visiting the house of the bride. And then the parents of the bride, of the girls, are telling her, now she is just a child who is 14 still. Now serve your husband. Bring him this, bring him that, do this for him, do that for him. So these are the regulations. She gets used to serving the husband, to give some attention to husband in many, many ways. And once she becomes a bit older, then out of that regulations which the parents instigate, out of that service, then she develops some affection and love for the husband. So that works. By practicing some rules and regulations, eventually we will come to the platform of some attachment and transcendental love. That's the idea in Krishna consciousness as well. Attachment and transcendental love. Carry on. Always when the screen is pushed up, you continue always on the second line from top. It just repeats one line for some reason. So, okay, carry on. Amit, Bhakti Yoga is?
Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified. And in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love.
Okay. One interesting sentence. In the purified, so this regulations of Bhakti Yoga's process is purifying the senses. And Srila Prabhupada writes here, in this material, in the purified state, the senses, in a purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. Implying, if the senses are not fully purified, they are not in direct contact. They're in contact with Krishna, but not in direct contact with Krishna. So we cannot even imagine how it is to be in direct contact with Krishna. Krishna is a reservoir of all pleasure. So if we are in direct contact with this reservoir of all pleasure and happiness, then we also become full of pleasure, full of happiness, without any lamentation, without any hankering, fully joyful and blissful. So partially we can experience that sometimes when there is a very strong spiritual atmosphere, and when we allow ourselves to be carried away by this spiritual atmosphere and we open our heart. So at those times, we can feel the direct contact with Krishna. So the more the senses become purified, the more direct contact we have with Krishna, and then via this direct contact with Krishna, we're becoming supremely joyful, supremely happy and blissful. Everybody wants to be happy, blissful, joyful, but people don't know how. They're not in direct contact with Krishna, they're in indirect contact with Krishna, also in contact with Krishna, they're in contact through the material elements, through the material contaminated senses. Still they're in contact with Krishna because Krishna is everything. Krishna is even those sense objects everybody is hankering for. But it's not a direct relationship. It's indirect through this material energy, through these material senses. Once the senses are purified, there is no more via the material energy. That is bypassed. It's direct. That is very beautiful. We can experience that sometimes. But if we practice this Krishna consciousness regularly and properly, then in due course of time, as we become more and more, the senses become more and more purified, then we feel more and more blissful and happy. Because we are directly in contact with Krishna, and not only direct in contact with Krishna, all the time in direct contact with Krishna. So sometimes in a not so purified state, we making some contact with Krishna and then we're losing it again. It's just like your internet connection, Amit. Sometimes it is working very nicely and then connection is lost. So that is not such a pleasurable experience. Connecting and lost again, and reconnecting and lost. So this is our state of mind and heart at the moment. So the goal is to get a stable connection, which never breaks, which stays on and on and on. And that is very, very pleasurable then. So let's go a little bit further. Second line from top.
But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. This love of God is now in dormant state in everyone's heart. And there, love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process.
Okay, that's very interesting. That love of God, that love of Krishna is already there. It is not something which has to be put from outside. No, it is in the heart, dormant, because we are part and parcels of Krishna. But due to prolonged association in this material world with matter and with our desire to satisfy our senses, to become happy through our material senses, and getting frustrated again and again and again. So we have developed, it's just like a cataract in the eye. Then everything becomes blurry. Now that is our position. Once that cataract has been removed, then whatever we see, everything is clear. Or like when we have the wrong glasses, our eyesight has deteriorated and we still have the glasses we had 10 and 20 years ago. So things are blurred. But if we get the correct prescription glasses, then suddenly everything is very, very clear. So it is dormant in the heart, in everyone's heart, love of God, Krishna Prema. And it is manifested in different ways. Srila Prabhupada speaks of, there are different ways of relating in this material world, our love, and with Krishna, our love as well. In this material world, love can be broken down in various categories. I have some so-called love for my boss in the office. Of course, it's not really love. It's you are the employee, he is the employer, you as a servant, he is a master. And as soon as he doesn't pay you anymore, that relationship breaks. So that's a level of a relationship as servant to the master. And if the master likewise, he doesn't like you anymore, there is no, oh my dear servant, I feel for him. No, then the relationship is broke. Then we have a different category of relationships to our family and friend and mother and father and children. So this friendship is another type of relationship which everybody has. And then we have the parental relationship that we have with our children, or as a child has with his parents, the opposite way around. And then there is a amorous love we have with our lover, with our spouse. That is another level of love. All these different ways of loving emotions and relationships, as we find in the material world, they also exist with Krishna, but in full purity and in an unbreakable relationship. That relationship with Krishna in these various, we say rasas, humors, in these various tastes. The taste of friendship is different than the taste of being a parent to our children. And the taste of serving a master is different to the taste we have with our spouse, with our wife. That is the different relationships we can have. In this material world, these relationships are always ending in frustration. Always. And if they're lasting for a whole lifetime, then at the time of death, then this relationship is also broken. So it doesn't last beyond this body. In the next lifetime, we have different parents, we have different spouses, we have different children, different masters, all of that. But that relationship in these different rasas is never broken with Krishna. It carries on even after death. The next body, we carry that relationship on again and again and again and again. How many times we come back in this material world, that relationship continues and becomes more and more pure, and we're tasting more and more nectar. So more pure that relationship becomes. So here Srila Prabhupada writes, now the heart has to be purified of material association. Then this dormant natural love will be revived, will come out. That is the whole process of Krishna consciousness. So carry on. Last paragraph, to practice.
To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple, and offer prayers and chant Hare Krishna. Then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasadam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of love of God and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga, under the rules and regulations, with the direction of spiritual master, will surely bring one to the stage of love of God.
Hare Krishna. So this is very nice verse, very nice, beautiful purport. Srila Prabhupada. Welcome, Amrita Rati Mataji Rituan Jayanti Bhai. Hare Krishna. Prakash, you're still here. Wonderful. So, let's look a little bit deeper. One should constantly hear Bhagavad Gītā, or as much as possible. There is a verse, Madchitta Madkatha Prana Buddhayanta Parasparam Kathayantaschamam Nityam Tushyanti Charam Mandicha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. So pure, again, Lord Krishna speaks about the pure devotees. They're thinking always of him. Vānmana bhava mat bhakto. And so their thoughts dwell in Krishna. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So here the pure devotees are described. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes constantly, that is constantly absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, discussing about Krishna, and they're becoming greatly satisfied and achieving bliss and enlightening each other and conversing, speaking about me. So that is just a little bit to the constantly hear Bhagavad Gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. So what if we cannot hear? Someone might object. There are no pure devotees. I'm not in the association of pure devotees. So how can I hear Bhagavad Gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees? So that question may be raised. But, sir, you're forgetting that while you're reading this Bhagavad Gītā, which has been chanted and transcribed by the pure devotee, you are in the association of a pure devotee. So the association of Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee, is right in front of our eyes. Let's not think only of physical association. Of course, if we get the physical association of a pure devotee, we have to run there. We have to leave everything behind and take to that association of a pure devotee if he is physically present somewhere. So, Srila Prabhupada writes this practice, and he describes here, of course, the deity worship, which is a very important practice. If one wants to progress in Krishna consciousness, deity worship is recommended because there are rules and regulations. Without deity worship, it is just reading and hearing, which is, of course, very, very powerful and actually sufficient. But for devotees at the beginning, at the beginner stage, the beginner stage is a long time. So for us, the rule, the deity worship is introduced to help us fix our mind on Krishna, to practice how to serve Krishna. We practice in deity worship how to serve Krishna as a servant to the master, to offer some flowers, to offer some incense, a lamp, a dipa, foodstuff we offer, we cook and offer. We offer a peacock fan, of fanning a little bit of wind, a chamara to keep the flies away. So incense, of course. So this is meant as in the example we have given. When a girl is married at a young age of 14 in India, still being practiced in the past much more. And again, needs to emphasize not to get the wrong idea. When the girl is married at the age of 14, boy and girl, they don't live together at the same house. They live at their respective parents' house. But they get married at that young age, and the girl knows I have a husband. And the boy knows I have a wife, which is a great comfort, and they can fix their mind. And then the boy comes to the house of the girl, the bride, and the parents teach the girl, now bring the prasadam, now serve the prasadam, now serve something to drink, now do this, now do that. And so they're engaging the girl in the service of the husband. And by this, at that point, there is no affection there. The girl is probably too young. But by introducing all this step by step service, in due course of time, the girl will develop some attachment and affection, and the boy as well. So that is trained. So our love for Krishna is also trained by that process of Vaidhi Bhakti, of following not only the rules, which are no, 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 not this, not that, not this, not that. But there are other rules like deity worship. Do this, like there are do's and do nots. Let's not only concentrate on the do nots, otherwise we'll become disheartened. There's so many things we cannot do. There are many things we are recommended to do, like deity worship. Do that. Do an arti once a day. If you cannot do it once a day, do it once a week. Bathe your deities if you can. Cook some foodstuff. Offer all your foodstuff to your deities at home. So deity worship is a very nice practice. And if we practice deity worship in due course of time, we develop some attachment for Krishna. Of course, Krishna is the deity. But at the beginning, we just do it according to the rules of deity worship. Do the achmans, chant the prayers, and this and that, and so many things. Many things, many rules in deity worship. Early in the morning, if possible, clean, and the cooking also, clean, certain foodstuffs which Krishna likes, just like the girl. Certain foodstuffs which the husband likes, she will be directed by the parents to cook, to prepare, to serve. So step by step through all these rules and regulations and do this, do that, according to what Krishna likes. We know what Krishna likes. Shastra is full of, Bhagavatam is full of pastimes. We know exactly what Krishna likes, what he accepts. So in this way, we're developing attachment and love. But this has to be directed, as Srila Prabhupada explains, this practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of the spiritual master. So it has to be directed, there has to be some direction. So the physical association of devotees, even if they're not pure devotees. So we have the association of pure devotees of Srila Prabhupada, and we have the association of devotees who help us, who direct us how to execute this deity worship, how to execute Krishna consciousness. And then Srila Prabhupada says, surely this will bring one to the stage of love of God. And love of God, we're talking about spontaneous raga bhakti. That is love of God. Krishna Prema, at least the stage of Bhava. Any questions so far? Anyone?
Prabhu, I have one question. Prabhu, as you mentioned, like I've also seen, read in Prabhupada's books where Prabhupada emphasizes that this fact that when devotees are neophyte, like new, at that stage, deity worship is important. I understand that, like, as because it's very difficult for a neophyte devotee to focus on something which they cannot see, or they cannot, because definitely with our material senses we cannot see the Supreme Lord, but the Lord by His mercy takes the form of a deity, and we can appreciate that because we can see basically the wood, or the wooden form, or the metallic form, or whatever form he is made up of. He has taken the form of. But the thing is that even when the devotee advances and becomes a mature devotee, then also the deity worship is also it's important, I feel, because it's like, you have got an attachment to the deity, and you gradually understand or realize that the deity is the Supreme Lord Himself. So is it only for the neophyte where deity worship is important, or even like for very advanced devotees deity worship is also important? Because we have seen, like, the acharyas, the six Goswamis, even Vrindavan acharyas, they had their own deities and they had got special attachment, just like Gopal Bhatta Goswami has a special attachment for Radha Ramanji. He was seeing that all the other deities are getting the jewelry. So he could have thought that, okay, Krishna in that form is taking the jewelry, but he thought that if my Shaligram Shila would be like would had hands and feet, then I could have decorated him with the jewelry. So even in that advanced stage, deity worship is very, very dear to the devotee. Is it only for neophytes, or also, like, throughout the course or journey of devotional life?
Thank you.
That's my
very nice question. Deity worship is not only for neophyte, but it is especially for neophyte. Let's put it like that. It is a must for neophyte devotees. Srila Prabhupada, he showed the example. He didn't do personal deity worship every morning. His Shalagram Shila or his Radha Krishna deities, because he was so much engaged in preaching. But wherever he went, there were the deities. Wherever he went, every temple he visited, he first went to the deities, offered his dandavats, and so on. And the disciples did worship the deities on his behalf. So, there is an interesting story, which has been also shown of just what I try to explain with Srila Prabhupada. You know that story, but I'll relate it again. There were a group of devotees that were doing university programs, preaching, book table, Bhagavad Gītā, Bhagavatam, and it was quite successful. Students were very interested. So then Srila Prabhupada met those devotees from that party who did the university programs. One university, another, every day a university program. So one of the devotees, he asked Srila Prabhupada, our programs running late into the night, very late. That's how the students, their life is like that. So we don't go to sleep before midnight, most occasions. So we don't have Mangal Arti. We don't have the morning program at 4:30. And I just wonder, Srila Prabhupada, is that okay? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you're doing this preaching program. That is very important. So he said, this Krishna consciousness runs on two tracks. One track is Pancharatrika Vidhi, which is a deity worship and all its regulations, temple worship, as those devotees do who are staying in the temples, Mangaladi at 4:30, Guru Puja, Chapa period, Srimad Bhagavatam class, and all of that. Guru Puja. So that is a Pancharatrika Vitti. There is a nice book on deity worship, very detailed. It is called Pancharatrika Pradeep, with all the mantras and so many mantras and so many procedures, all in great details, being compiled by a group of devotees who looked into that. Krishna Kshetra Maharaj was part of it and others. So they came up with, compiled through a lot of information from Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatan Goswami, with all the rules. Lord Chaitanya asked Sanatan, you compile a book about all the rules on deity worship and cleanliness and so on. So that is a Pancharatrika Pradeep. Narada Muni has also, what's that book associated with Narada Muni? Pancharatra. Which one?
Is it Narad Pancharatra?
That's it, yes. Narada Pancharatra. So therefore the word Pancharatra. So Srila Prabhupada said, our movement runs on two tracks, Pancharatrika Vitti and Bhagavata Vitti. So the deity worship, that's one track, and the Bhagavata Vitti, that is basically preaching. Bhagavatam. So these are the two tracks. And if devotees are on preaching programs and cannot really perform the Pancharatrika Vitti, like in that case, this group of devotees who were preaching, but they couldn't really establish the deity worship. For them, the major part engagement was preaching to the students and chanting their rounds. So Srila Prabhupada said, I tell you that in this age of Kali Yuga, one can do without the Pancharatrika Vitti, but one cannot do without the Bhagavata Vitti. That's very interesting. Yes, because Swamis were all worshipping the deities and so on. But here Srila Prabhupada says, in this age of Kali, one can do without the Pancharatrika Vitti, without the deity worship, but one cannot do without the Bhagavata Vitti. And then he said something interesting. But don't preach like that. And the devotee was just ready to go out. Oh, Srila Prabhupada said we can do without deity worship if we preach it. So Srila Prabhupada said, no, don't preach like that. Because people will misunderstand. They will think you are neglecting, you are finding the deity worship less important. Devotees at the beginning, they are, and Srila Prabhupada used that word, they are sentimentally attached to deity worship. Right? You can see, I have seen devotees, they are sentimentally attached to deity worship. One can be attached to the deity in different ways. At the beginning, it will be mainly sentiment. And then that sentiment becomes purified and becomes love. First, sentiment. Sentiment means through the material senses, and we just read in the purport. It's an indirect relationship with Krishna. If the senses become purified, one has a direct relationship. Everybody has a relationship with Krishna, but not directly through purified senses. So don't preach like that. Devotees are sentimentally attached to the deities, and they think if you preach like that, they will not understand. They will feel hurt because they put their sentiments in the deities and. By just telling this to you, that in this age one can do without Pancharatrika Vitti, but not with Bhagavata Vitti. That's an important instruction. And he also said, if a devotee becomes spiritually weak in his preaching, then you send him back to the temple to engage in Pancharatrika Vritti, to engage in deity worship. We have often seen that. The devotees who have been preaching on Sankirtan, then after some time they come back to the temple, and then arrangement is done that those very devotees are directly engaged in deity worship. And then deity worship is bringing the purity. So I think this story puts a little bit of a light on. We don't say when we are advanced we don't need to do deity worship anymore. When we are advanced, we are engaging in preaching. And we may have personal deities and do that at the same time. And if that is not possible, then for some time at least we can, on an advanced level and fully engaged in preaching activities, and we may do for some time without the deity worship, or it may go hand in hand. Normally, Pancharatrika Vritti and Bhagavata Vritti go hand in hand. That's a normal. But the preaching is more important. That's basically what Srila Prabhupada says. If there is no facilities, the preaching is more important. And by the preaching, one can sustain one's spiritual life. But if someone is not engaged in preaching and just deity worship, it is very difficult to sustain one's spiritual life unless someone is very advanced. Like our Janani was, and the two twins. They have been doing deity worship in Mayapur since the very, very beginning of Mayapur being established. But then again, they also were engaged in preaching. You will not find many advanced devotees who just are engaged in deity worship and not preaching. Janani was, and his brothers were traveling, particularly in the hot summer months. They were traveling throughout the Western countries and preaching, very, very beautifully preaching. Then they returned back to Mayapur. Okay, I hope that sheds some light on that question.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. Hare Krishna.
For us, we should not think we are very advanced. Actually, advanced devotees don't think they're very advanced. We think we are, or as Srila Prabhupada says, an advanced devotee thinks he's the most fallen. And even if we don't think we are the most fallen, at least we should think we are not very advanced. That if we think we are very advanced, that is very dangerous. Then the humility will disappear. We can always learn. Okay, that was a nice question. Thank you. Any other questions? Amit?
No questions, Prabhu.
No questions. Let's go back to our Bhagavad Gītā verse. There are many principles of deity worship. Practice the regulative principles under the expert guidance of the spiritual master, of course. Rise early, take bath, enter the temple or one's temple room at home, offer prayers, chant Hare Krishna, collect flowers, offer to the deities, cook foodstuff, offer to the deities, take prasadam. Take prasadam is also a part of it. And so on, all this with rules and mantras and everything. This is all important. Let's have a look at the next shloka, because this is a whole series of shlokas where Lord Krishna is saying, if you cannot fix your mind without deviations, and do this, If you cannot do this, then do this. So he steps down one step lower, 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 lower. So there is a platform for anybody to link in. And the lowest platform, we just do some charitable work. Do something good for people. I do remember when I read this part of Bhagavad Gītā at the beginning of my Krishna conscious journey. I liked that. So I could slot in where I was. It was not everything or nothing. I could slot in. What can I do? Okay, this I cannot do. Then Krishna says, then do this. That's still hard to do. If you cannot do this, then do this. Oh yes, this I can do. And then when you find our own level, what I can do, then we can step up and higher and higher and higher. So let's look at that next verse. Rituan, probably you want to read that translation? Not the translation, the Sanskrit.
Okay, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Abhyasepi asamarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madartham api karmani kurvan siddhim avapshyasi.
Translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
Okay, so beautiful. Step lower. If even the regulations of Bhakti Yoga are too difficult, do something for me, Krishna is saying. Work for me. Sounds like karma yoga. Do some work for me. Or do some percentage of work for me. Even if you do 2%, 5, 10, 20%, dedicate some work for me. That will be all beneficial. Try to work for me. Then by working for Krishna, we will progress. We'll eventually come to the perfect stage. Why? Why by working only 20% or 10% for Krishna and 90% for our own sense gratification? Why will we become to the perfect stage? Because the idea is, and the process is, if we connect with Krishna, that connection with Krishna will purify our senses and our mind and our heart in due course of time. If it takes many lifetimes, it will take many lifetimes, but the process will be ongoing. If we can do it in one lifetime, then we'll do it in one lifetime. And if we don't deviate from that process, if we chant Hare Krishna and engage in Krishna consciousness at our own pace, there is no question we will reach the goal, as long as we don't get deviated and stop the process. The goal will be reaching perfect Krishna consciousness, pure devotional service in this lifetime, or in the next, or in the next after next after next. Let's read that purport, Rituan.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One who is not able to even to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of spiritual master can still be drawn to the perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness and they require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand, so the same is required in the service of Krishna.
That's very interesting. That is, even if we cannot practice the regulative principles, let's say householders or congregation, devotees who have jobs and they they are sympathetic to Krishna consciousness. So that's a very merciful stance here. If one is sympathetic towards the propagation of Krishna, then one will also come to the final goal in due course of time. But of course, that sympathetic does not just mean, it can mean, I like the devotees. Every time I see devotees, oh, I like the devotees. That's a starting point of having some sympathy for devotees. But if someone is a bit more advanced, that sympathy for the devotees and appreciating their preaching work, that translates into some practical activities. One can depart with some money to help, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here. It requires land, capital, organization, labor. One can offer one's labor. One can volunteer on Ratha Yatra to distribute prasadam. And even small things. Some years ago, someone approached me, called me on the phone, Ratha Yatra is coming up. I want to do something. I asked the devotees if I can help with the kitchen. They said, no, we already have. All positions are filled. All volunteer positions. So he was a bit dejected. I want to do something for Krishna on Ratha Yatra. So I said, you don't need to go through official channels and get a formal position and do some seva. That you can do, but that was not successful in your case. What you do, I told him, you just go home, take a black bin bag, bring a roll of bin bags or two with you at Ratha Yatra. And when everybody is sitting down and eating, then you're going around and to the groups of devotees who are sitting on the grass and say Hare Krishna, very important, say Hare Krishna. And if you can take their plates, collect their plates which have been emptied and put them in the bin bag. A very simple service of just cleaning up the place, collecting the plates, the dirty plates, put them in a bin bag, tying it up and leaving it with other plates which have been collected. So very simple. It doesn't need a big a formal job. You just do it. Just do it. And in this way, there are many other work one can do for Krishna. If someone wants to do for Krishna, he'll always find something to do. Always. Not possible to not find something to do for Krishna. So, someone sympathetic. Okay, finish that puppet ritual. The only difference.
Yeah, the only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in the building of an office or temple for the propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activities, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of his activities, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to the higher state of love for God, whereupon one becomes perfect.
Yes, it's the same thing, what we have already explained. Some percentage, 1% for Krishna. The point is, if we sacrificing some work for Krishna, like that person who wanted to do something for Lord Jagannath, and I advised him, get some bin bags and collect the plates after prasadam. Go around everywhere and say Hare Krishna. So that was meant for him to say Hare Krishna, and for the people, of course, because he didn't know much, if anything, about Krishna consciousness, but he was somehow or other attracted. He wanted to do something. So having him chant Hare Krishna, so every time he collects some plates, he says Hare Krishna. So at the end of the day, he will have said, you have chanted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. Very nice. And the people who hear Hare Krishna say also, and be very, very humble and be very polite to the people. Speak something nice. Hare Krishna, would you allow me to collect your plates? Something like that. One may not have the funds available to help in building an office, a temple, or propagation of Krishna consciousness. So there's always something. The point is, we're doing something for Krishna and not asking for a reward. Not like in our material activities. We're doing something for a company and we're asking for a payment. And if the company doesn't pay us or doesn't pay us sufficiently, we find another job with another company who pay more. So here with devotional service for Krishna, there is no question of payment. We're doing it, we're sacrificing our time, our talent, our money for Krishna. That is wanted. And we have mentioned before, Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to say, don't be a miser. You have spent many, many lifetimes in sense gratification. You have tried to satisfy your senses. You had it all. You had all types of sense gratification in this and in previous lifetimes. So why not give one lifetime to the service of Radha and Krishna? Don't be a miser. You have had it all. Just give one lifetime. Out of many millions of lifetimes, you have enjoyed sense gratification. Give one lifetime to the service of Radha and Krishna. And here, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, not even one lifetime, just even a percentage of your time, of this lifetime. Give 10, 20% of your lifetime, this lifetime, to the service of Radha and Krishna, to the service of Krishna consciousness. And next time around, you might be able to fully serve Radha and Krishna, or increase that 20% to 80%. So at the end, we will arrive to the highest state, of love of God, Krishna Prema. That is the end. That will automatically come if we stick to it. And even if we get diverted, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gītā, we get diverted completely. And we don't. I met a gentleman the other day. He said, oh, are you Hare Krishna? Yes. Devotee, Krishna. He said, I also was a devotee. I used to go to the temple. I didn't ask what happened. But I said, that is unusual. That someone, normally people who are, which is not actually true, people who are engaged in Krishna consciousness say, don't leave like that, which is not entirely true, because some people do leave. Some people do leave, some out of various circumstances and association and so on. So this continues a Krishna consciousness. But even there is no loss. There's no loss. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gītā, if someone after a short time discontinue his practice of Krishna consciousness, then next lifetime he will be born in an aristocratic family, in a rich family, in mercantile family, And he will get all facilities to carry on. How does it work? How does he carry on? Naturally, at one stage in his life, he will be attracted to the service of Radha and Krishna. As if a magnet is attracted to the eye, and he doesn't know why he is feeling this attraction. We also have, every single one of us, have at one point been attracted to Krishna. How did it happen? Where did it come from? Did we come from a pious background? The devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, how? We are not coming from a pious background. We're coming from an impious background of meat eaters and of so many sense gratification. So how come we coming to Krishna consciousness? We have no pious credit. Because pious credit will help us. Srila Prabhupada said, no, it's not like that. I have created your pious credit by engaging you in chanting Hare Krishna. So even chanting Hare Krishna, which gives the highest goal, it's also creating some pious credit. And through pious credit, through punya, we have the facility to come to Krishna consciousness. So, we will come, everyone will come to the higher state of love of God, eventually, and become perfect. So that person who, after a short period of practice, deviates, he will get this opportunity in the next life of a pious aristocratic family with all facilities, and he will feel attracted like iron to a magnet, and then he will do the activities of bhakti yoga, and then he will carry on his spiritual journey. Now, Krishna also says the person, the yogi, or the person who has practiced this Krishna consciousness for a long time, and by circumstances, somehow or other, mostly by wrong association. Therefore, association of devotees is so important. Stay in the association of devotees, always. Like Haridas Thakur, Chaitanya asked, what do you want? I'll give you a boon. I'll give you anything you ask me for. I'm so pleased with you. And Haridas Thakur said, my Lord, I don't mind in what situation you put me in my next life. He spoke even of my next life. He didn't say, oh, I'm surely will go back home to Godhead. He said, I don't mind what situation you will put me in the next life, even as a dog. But please, put me as a dog in a house of a devotee. Give me that association of devotees. Well, that's the most valuable thing, to stay in the association of devotees. So if someone strays away from the association of devotees, even after a long time of practicing Krishna consciousness, then next lifetime, next time around, he will get more than the person who practiced for a short time and got deviated. Because he practiced for a long time and got deviated through wrong association, or giving up the association of devotees, or making offenses and being not allowed in the association by Krishna. So that person will take birth in a family of transcendentalists. It's different. Not aristocratic and mercantile and well-off and pious family. No. In a family, he will take birth in a family of transcendentalists, means in a family of devotees. From small childhood on, he will, just like our Padma and Tejas, and just like Srila Prabhupada himself, who from his smallest childhood on, as a young child, he heard the bell ringing for the arti in the temple, at the altar in his home, his father and mother, an offering, and. So being born in a situation of devotees, of pure devotees, and absorbing Krishna consciousness from the young age, then that birth is very glorious. Or as Prahlad Maharaj says, Krishna consciousness needs to be practiced from small child. It's a misconception within the Indian community that people say, this bhakti, that is for old people. Now you are young, now make money and enjoy your senses. Enjoy life. And when you're old, then you can take to bhakti. No, that's not. By circumstances, we have come to Krishna consciousness not from childhood. Also, I'm speaking about myself. From young childhood also, I was engaged in some service in the church, Catholic church. I was an altar boy. I enjoyed that. It was great. An altar boy who had to wear a red skirt, white top, long-sleeved. It was always a little bit too big, and that skirt frock was too long, so when walking one could easily step on it. That caused some problems. And then in the Mass, to assist the priest, to ring the bell at the right moment, to say some prayers at the right time, and all of that. So there were some pious background, some attraction, and then I got deviated from that for some years until I came back. This time came back through Srila Prabhupada. So that transcendentalist born into a family of devotees, that is a very, Krishna says, such a birth is very rare. So it's not common. So we carry on our Krishna consciousness and eventually we'll reach the state of Krishna Prema, the highest stage of love of Godhead. The perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. But it is up to us, our determination, our previous karma, our determination and sincerity. Even if we have a really bad previous karma and so many bad impressions in our mind, if we determined, Krishna will help us. We can overcome that. So it doesn't need many lifetimes. And Srila Prabhupada is very merciful. If we engage fully and with full faith in his service, then Srila Prabhupada is merciful. He will take us back home to Godhead. Once we are ready to leave this body, Srila Prabhupada will be there. He will extend his hand and pull us out. There is, we have told that story before. When Pishima, Srila Prabhupada's sister, she left the body many years after Srila Prabhupada. So there was one Mataji. She was serving Pishima in her last days, very intense. And she, in the last moments before Pishima left, she looked into the corner of the room. She looked there and that Mataji, she could perceive Srila Prabhupada's presence in that corner. And Srila Prabhupada, she could see Srila Prabhupada with a big smile, extending his hand to Pishima. and pulling her out, back home, come. And another story where one devotee, he, due to most likely some offenses to devotees, criticizing and so on, he left Krishna consciousness for many years. And it was his time to leave his body. The devotees heard about him and they reconnected. They came and did some kirtan, some devotees. And he appreciated that very much. He had been out of the association of devotees for many, many years. So he lost that connection of the sadhu sangha. So at his most vulnerable time, at the time of death, there suddenly devotees were there and doing kirtan. And in his last moments, he suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada is here." Just see. Srila Prabhupada has come even for his fallen disciple to rescue him. So if we are dedicated to our spiritual master, if we are dedicated to Srila Prabhupada, dedicated means he must become our life and soul. Dedicated means 100%, not 99 or less. Then Srila Prabhupada will be there at the time of death and help us, pull us out, be there with a big smile. Hare Krishna. Any question? Beautiful verse, beautiful sequence of verses, absolutely beautiful sequence. Any questions? Rituan, Amrita Rati?
No, Prabhu, thank you.
Amit, anything?
No question. Prabhu, it's difficult to ask question. This was quite understandable what you were saying.
I hope so. We should not lose hope. Never. Never lose hope. We will, wherever we are, we have to be honest of our own level of Krishna consciousness. That's important. And then we spoke last week about introspection. Yes, we have to be introspective. And eventually, we will reach the goal of the human form of life. If not this time around, then next time around. But we should try. We should try for this time. At least let's try to make this the last lifetime in this material world. If it doesn't happen though, okay, then we'll take another time around. But at least let's try. On that note, I think we'll finish here.
Prabhu, I think as we get older, we get more into Krishna consciousness. I think we have a lot more understanding of life, so we look for more self-realization.
Perhaps because when we get older, all our illusions about enjoying this material world are all destroyed. Yes. They're all gone.
Yes.
We tried it all, and it hasn't delivered what we expected from sense gratification and material life. It just couldn't deliver. So we get disillusioned. And if we have Krishna consciousness, then we can focus our entire life, whatever is left, on Krishna. If we don't have Krishna consciousness, we become bitter. People become bitter in old age.
Yeah. Yes.
People become not very nice, because they couldn't get happiness through material life, and they don't know how to get happiness through spiritual life. So it's a very unfortunate situation. But the other thing is also true. Older people are set in their tracks. It's very difficult to teach them anything new. It's an age, if one comes to Krishna consciousness at the age of 25, that's a very, of course, if one comes from childhood on, but if we don't have that facility, so 25, we can adopt new ways in our thinking and in our life. But if you try to convince an old person about Krishna consciousness, if that person doesn't have some pious background, it's very, very difficult. They're set in their ways very rigidly. But anyway, it's not up to us. We just preaching Krishna consciousness to whoever. We're not thinking of this person will be able to take to it and this person not. We never know. We are not interested in the result. That's a very important bit. We are not interested in the result of preaching Krishna consciousness, spreading Krishna consciousness. We are interested of pleasing Krishna. That's all. We want to please Krishna with our preaching endeavors, whatever little or much it is. That is meant for pleasing Krishna. Like the deity worship is meant for pleasing Krishna. Like chanting Hare Krishna is not meant for being peaceful in our mind. It's meant for pleasing Krishna. Then the peacefulness will automatically come if we please Krishna. So the preaching is also meant for pleasing Krishna. Or as Srila Prabhupada said, very interesting, we don't want many followers or become famous or this or that. All we want a certificate from Krishna. This man has tried to do something for me. A certificate from Krishna. This devotee has tried to do something for me. That's nice. And Krishna is pleased. We're trying to do something for him. That's our perfection. We don't want anything else. That's our reward. Krishna is pleased. Oh, very nice. Okay, here we stop for tonight. Thank you very much. See you all on Saturday. Again, keep the 3rd of August in mind. I will shortly next week send out some pre-notice of the 3rd of August. Again, we have 2 sannyasis, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj and Govinda Maharaj, Bhakti Govinda Maharaj, coming with a number of devotees from France and a number, Narada and Neera again. So we'll have a very nice program, and devotees, many other devotees are coming. So make the entry in your diary, Ritu and Prabhu and Amrita Rate Mataji. That's the date to come to Leicester. Plan it out. It's a very wonderful association there. Don't miss it.
Yes, Prabhu, definitely. 3rd August is Saturday, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a Saturday, but we start at 5, which serves you.
Yes.
Because then it doesn't get so late when you get back. That has been changed to 5 from 7 because Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj is chanting over 100 rounds every day, and he goes to bed goes to take a rest at 8 o'clock and gets up at 1 o'clock and just chants and chants. So we have in the association of very, very, very advanced devotees here. Pure devotees. So we should make arrangements. Amit, make arrangements that you don't have any event going on. Don't miss it. It will be a beautiful association. That's all what we want, this association of those devotees. Yes? Can you plan for it, Amit?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, I'll put it in my diary, Prabhu.
3rd of August, Saturday,
3rd of August.
5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. Arti Kirtan. I have seen some videos of them in France. They're very jolly. They're dancing like anything. They're very happy. All of them, the Maharajas and the devotees, they're very, very happy group of devotees. So we're expecting, and Neera Mataji, who has been here before, famous singer from Bhaktivedanta Manor, she will lead the kirtan, and then we all can chant and dance in ecstasy. Okay. 3rd of August. I will send something out closer to the time. Hare Krishna. See you on Saturday.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.